Hello, welcome to the Hampden Roar Podcast. We're here for the first episode of 2026, and we're going to have a little catch up about how the Scotland boys are doing domestically and a wee bit about the January transfer window as well. Who is on the move and who do we expect should be on the move ahead of the World Cup? Loads to talk about today. It's been an exciting start to the year for some of the players. Interesting. I am your creator and host, Andy Bargh, and with me is Lewis Irons from BBC Scotland. Hi there.
Hello, Andy. Great to be back on.
Lots to look forward to in the Hampden Roar. You'll be on for plenty, and so will Calum Brown, commentator working around British football. Hello, Callum.
Hi Andy, how we doing?
Good to have you, mate. We've been busy in the group chat talking about what we can do this year in the Hampden Roar. So we've put together a little structure, and we think at the start of every month we'll be doing a domestic catch up, how the players have been doing form wise. Anyone picked up an injury in the last couple of weeks? Anyone on a goal run? Anyone part of a strong defence? That sort of thing. So we thought after a little break for the Hampden Roar over Christmas and New Year there, we uploaded the end of season review, but that was recorded like a week before we put it out. So now we can get back into the routine with things. And with that comes a wee bit more, hopefully, marketing for the Hampden Roar. It's been a huge downfall of mine, not pushing the pod enough apart from when we're actually recording. So we've made an Instagram, which is just Hampden Roar Podcast. If you want to give us a follow there, we'll be putting up clips from various pods that we record and maybe sharing a few pieces of information about how the boys are doing domestically and stuff around the national team. We're on Twitter as we always have been at Hampden Roar Pod and on YouTube as well. This should be the first one that goes out on our YouTube channel. Been getting a bit of feedback that I think some people like to have visuals on in the background if they're listening, making dinner, or just dotting about the house, whatever. So we'll put the episodes on YouTube. Might take a wee bit longer to get up on there compared to how quickly we can get a podcast turned around, but we'll still make sure that every episode actually goes up on YouTube as well. So hopefully that will help push the pod in what's a big year for us as well as the Scotland national team. We expect interest to be high and we'll hopefully reflect that with weekly episodes between now and the World Cup. So the first one is the domestic catch up. Boys, we'll talk about Craig Gordon first. 43 years old and pulling off a save like that, those reflexes. Did anyone watch the game yesterday? We all watched it live. Do you know, I'm really happy that it was on telly because I don't think it would have had the same exposure if that wasn't on live. Like, you know, when Sky Sports had the clip straight away out on Twitter and it gets its exposure and attention, and it's not just a wee bit on Sports Scene, for example. I I can't remember the last time save like shocked me like that, like stopped me in my tracks. I could not believe it, Lewis.
Yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. And the reaction of his teammates said it all, didn't it? And him, like his celebration was quite brilliant to watch. And it was just such a nice manner in the way it panned out with Hearts going down to 10 and Gordon coming on for Claudio Braga with the team 1-0 up and to see it out and get what could be a vital 3 points. I think it was Ailey Barber actually said in the coverage afterwards. She said, you know, they'll look back on moments in title races. Could this be one of the moments that they look back on? And if Hearts were to go on and do for many people, the unimaginable, the unthinkable that nobody thought could happen in Scottish football, then I think that moment will be replayed for a long time. And then I think it was you, Callum, in the group chat that said, how the hell do you get down like that at 43 years of age? Like the speed in which he got down to it, it was almost behind him, wasn't it, when he kind of scooped it? Oh, it was just, it's one of the best saves I've seen in a long time, like a long time. But it's just Craig Gordon, isn't it? Like you're used to that from him. That is what he does. To quote Roy Keane, that's his job. Like he sticks to the basics. Really, he's not one that's going to be playing out from the back or great technically with his feet, but in moments like that, when you need a goalkeeper, I don't think there's many better than Craig Gordon to
Yep.
produce goals like that.
It's been a bit of a since he came back in to the team at the end of the campaign there, it has reignited the conversation about who should start for Scotland in the summer. I honestly think that moment, a bit like when Bowie scored against Partizan Belgrade, I think that could like accelerate it for Craig Gordon that people now are of the opinion he should start for Scotland.
Yeah, it's just it's just everything that came before it as well, like the red card, being down to 10, kind of defended their box the full game, and then I wouldn't say he had an awful lot to do at all in the game either. And then he just comes up with that. Yeah, as I said in the group chat, like 43 years of age is just unbelievable. Yeah, and I liked obviously you're gonna do that anyway, but he showed a lot of personality, which he probably isn't renowned for.
Mhm.
Um, but you could see what it meant to him. He was going mental at the save, which was great, and obviously it's massive for Hearts. But yeah, to come off the bench like that and be prepared and all that, I get it's about being a professional footballer. You've got to be prepared for whenever you're called upon. But I think it just shows, he could easily be sat just collecting a wage, not applying himself in training week in, week out. And, it's obviously he's prepared, he's ready for that moment. But yeah, guys always celebrating.
Yeah,
The kind of heads
it's
that
mad, isn't it?
Aqua came off the bench. It's
Do you
just,
know what I mean? I think it's right, the personality thing, Callum, because the immediate response to it was really visceral, not just from Gordon,
Yeah,
but his teammates as well. Frankie Kent was straight over. I think maybe Halkett as well. Like they recognised the importance of that. But also what I loved in his post-match press conference. Normally, like, see if you ask a striker about a great goal they've scored, it's, oh, I just found myself in a bit of space and had a shot, and luckily enough, it's gone in. Craig Gordon, I love that he was just like, that's one of the best I've ever had. Like,
yeah,
just it was
yeah,
just mature and humble enough, and but bold enough as well to say
yeah,
that was a great save. It's I can't I'm so happy at this age that I've still been able to pull off a moment like that that could have a ripple effect in how successful we are this season.
yeah.
Like,
It's one of my great pleasures in football is like moments of magic, particularly like from players like Messi, whatever, watching the replays and watching everyone else's reactions to what they've just seen. But I remember the Declan Rice free kick against Real Madrid being quite a good one for that, just like watching how the players reacted. And I did that with the Gordon save, just like replayed it like 10 times and just picked a different player and watched their reactions, and it was phenomenal. Like, and as you say, it's great that he's just come out and said that, because it is like I'm struggling to think of many better saves in recent years that I can think of. And I remember Craig Gordon himself with a few special moments like that. So surely there'll be a montage being produced somewhere of his greatest saves by the Hearts media team or by somebody, because that is, yeah, special.
I think that when you take the moment into account, that's important. I always try and separate the quality of a piece of skill or a goal from the moment in which it happened. But when both are so severe, it
Yeah,
obviously matters a whole lot more. Because there will have been saves like that over the last 10, 15 years, kind of almost
yeah,
on that level, that maybe just happen in the hour mark when a team's already 2-0 up, and it just kind of gets lost because it didn't matter. But that, for the quality and how important it'll be for Hearts, could stick. And I don't know if now the Hearts fans, maybe if we could do with having Ben on, or maybe
yeah.
Barry, I know he's not a Hearts fan, but Barry covers them, if that sort of thing could change the opinion of Hearts fans, Callum, because they've been doing so well and comfortable with Schwalov in goal. But would that save from Craig Gordon tilt their feelings or narrative at all? Because he's going to play the next game at home to St Mirren now, and if he does well in that game, does he stay in?
yeah, I don't see why not. He'll obviously, as you say, start that game. I would imagine he'd have probably started the Scottish Cup game against Falkirk anyway, even without a suspension, just to give him a run out. I think managers do that a lot when they rotate the goalkeeper for the cup, and I don't think it's weakening the team as we saw there. So you can argue it's strengthening it. I think it's probably been a little harsh on Gordon, the addition of Swalov. I see Xander Clark's gone out on loan as well to, was it Rotherham
Yeah.
maybe?
Yeah,
Doncaster.
fantastic.
Doncaster, sorry, yeah. Um, but so it's, I don't know. He's a good goalkeeper. He's a good goalkeeper to have as a backup. I get why they made the signing because they had the injuries at the start of the season to both Gordon and Clark, I think. So it was an obvious signing to make. But yeah, it's probably just been the fact that Shvolov's been so good that I don't think they did maybe planned him to be that good. Well, they probably have because it's Jamestown Analytics, isn't it? But
Yeah,
yeah, I think Gordon's been just biding his time. They probably just thought, "I will get somebody in who's maybe a bit longer term, as in after the season." I know Shvolov's maybe 32, 33, but for a goalkeeper, that's still relatively long term. But I think he's just been so good that Gordon's not been able to get a look in. But yeah, to answer your question, I do think he'll play. Well, he's obviously going to play the next one, if not two games, and probably down to him. But you could argue with that save that and the mistake from Swallow that it's his gloves to lose now.
Wonder how Schwoloff feels,
yeah,
because he had the gloves list. Those I know we're verging into Premiership chat now, but those were his gloves. He'd been doing so well for Hearts, who'd been doing so well as a team. Why would they change their keeper? And I'm not sure it is such a stonewall red card as the pundits in the game were suggesting. But Craig Gordon's come on, pulled off a save like that, and he'll play in the next game. He must now, I think, be cursing it a wee bit.
Yeah, and I don't care what anyone says. Overwhelmingly, he'll be happy that the team have got another 3 points because they're on such a good run, and every 3 points is crucial in this title charge they're on. But part of him will also be like, oh, God, like a bit gutted to see Gordon produce that save because, yeah, everyone's going to be talking about it. You could see the reaction from the manager, the players. It was the moment. So part of him will be now worried and doubting that Gordon will come in and take his place and keep his place because he'll see Craig Gordon every day in training as well and know how good he is. So when Gordon gets the gloves again, he's not really one to let them go, is he? It's usually injury that makes him lose it. So I think, yeah, part of him will be a wee bit a wee bit frustrated, but yeah, he obviously will be happy with the 3 points given the importance of them for Hearts.
I know football fans can be reactive, but I saw lots of Sunderland fans online as well replying to the goal saying that's even better than the one that he pulled off for us against Bolton in 2011 or whenever it was, which has been voted, I think, the best save of the last 20 years in England or something like that, isn't it? Yeah. So, I mean, a phenomenal stop to be going one way, spring
Yeah.
to the other, so low, such a strong wrist or palm in a
Behind
moment
them
like
as
that,
well.
just phenomenal. Sorry, Cal.
It's behind them, the ball. The
Yeah,
ball's behind, the ball's gone. It looks in.
amazing.
Mental.
So a great moment for Craig Gordon yesterday, and also a couple of good moments for Scott McTominay, boys. He scored a double in a draw against Inter Milan. So he started 2026 well. That's 3-2. He scored against Verona the week before. I didn't realise that he had dropped off with his goal scoring form, only two in the league until then for Scott McTominay. I have to say, I'm not sure if Napoli have been moving him around the park or if they've switched their style or anything, or if Kevin De Bruyne's arrival has impacted anything for Scott McTominay. But regardless, it's good just to see him back among the goals because that, among other things, the way that he can drive forward with the ball for us, how he can be such a threat physically, his goal scoring prowess is something that we rely on him a lot for, Callum. So to see him doing it at club level, great stuff.
Yeah, he's just at every single week you look and he's doing something. As you say, maybe dropped off a little bit in terms of league goal scoring form, but I think we spoke a lot last season that a good strength in Napoli's last year was they didn't have Europe, so they were able to go from week to week. But he's been doing well in the Champions League as well. I think he scored a few in that as well. So yeah, great to see, and he's just such a big game player. At 2 goals at the San Siro against Inter Milan to earn your team a point is, yeah, he just keeps coming up with important goals. Obviously, we're going to speak about the Denmark goal forever. That's another massive game, another massive moment, and two really good finishes as well. But he's definitely, you mentioned De Bruyne there. Who's obviously out injured. He's definitely coming to come into his own a bit more since De Bruyne has, come out the team. They'd slightly tweaked the system a little bit. He was playing more off the left, but he's back in his usual kind of 8-10 position where he's arriving late into the box. So that's much better for him. And yeah, I think they're well and truly in the title race, Napoli, but a couple of silly drop points. You mentioned the goal, I think, against Verona, drawing that, but hopefully they're up there come the end of the season, and Billy Gilmour can get back fit soon as well in terms of a Napoli perspective.
Yes, did you see McTominay's goals? That the first one was a sort of classic, as Callum says, arriving in the box to meet the ball across. Really like those sort of goals from a centre
Yeah.
mid where they timed their arrival to perfection. Rifled into the bottom corner from maybe, I don't know, about 8 yards out. And the second one, I was surprised Inter gave him so much time. He seemed to be able to measure how he was going to put that one in the back of the net from the header down.
Yeah, it was just classic McTominay, really, wasn't it? And it was great to see him, as you say, back to goal scoring form in the league. I think the interesting thing now between, at this stage of the season towards the end of the campaign and then moving into the World Cup is I don't know when De Bruyne is due back, but it'll be if he can seize kind of the opportunity to make himself the total main man for Conte while De Bruyne is out. When he comes back, it'll be interesting to see if Conte shifts things again because hopefully he just keeps going the way he's going and Conte can't move him and has to just play around him, and then De Bruyne has to adapt to McTominay, which is quite an incredible sentence, isn't it? You can imagine now De Bruyne getting a bit older, can maybe drop deeper and keep McTominay in that 10 where he thrives, and then hopefully that's good news for Scotland where he's going into the World Cup and goal scoring and confident form. But yeah, great to see him do what he does. As Calum said, he's such a big game player. It felt inevitable that he was going to produce those moments in a game of that magnitude, and a point at the San Siro for Napoli could prove to be vital in their bid to try and win the title again.
Great to see McTominay back among the goals, doing well in Serie A. Another boy looking at Serie A that I think we should pay respect to is Lennon Miller, who finally has been able to work his way into the Udinese starting 11. I don't say finally in a disparaging way towards him because, I mean, he's only a teenager and he's moved out to a new country, and you see so often it takes time for these boys to put themselves in the manager's reckoning. But the manager was pleased with him. He got 75 minutes and then 80 minutes against Torino and Pisa after getting 45 minutes the week before against Como. That must be more than he's had this season combined until then, Lewis. So, well, I know you'd moved on from Motherwell when by the time Lennon Miller was coming through, but you have connections there and everybody thought so highly of him. We got to see him start to break into the team, and he must have chalked up about 100 games for Motherwell before going. So everybody in Scotland's aware of how good he is, and I thought he was good in the summer against Liechtenstein in the friendly. So very, very good to see him finally being able to assert himself in the manager's plans, not just as an option, but somebody who can make a difference, I would say.
Definitely, and as you say, nobody's surprised back here. I think it's easy to maybe look at it in two ways. In a sense, it feels like a bit of, because of how good he's been in Scotland, everyone being like, why is it taking this long for the manager to trust him a bit more? But then equally, had he just been chucked in and maybe performances not gone well early in his time at Udinese, he might have then bombed and his career might not kick on. So it might end up being smart management, who knows, to kind of ease a young player into the team like that. But hopefully, the way that Miller's career's gone, this is just going to be the kind of kick-on point for him to really seize his chance and become a bit of a main man there as well. And if he can have 6 good months of football heading into the World Cup, the options in the competition in midfield is incredible, isn't it? And you wouldn't really have thought this all that long ago, but with Gilmore out injured and battling to come back, where does where does his position kind of sit moving into that if people like Miller and Ferguson, McTominay are thriving? And obviously we're not even touched on people like McGinn and stuff yet that we'll get to, but yeah, the competition's incredible and Clark will be delighted with that. But for Miller, yeah, just hope that he can have a really good 6 months.
I think it was against Juventus, Callum, that he came on for 15 minutes or so, and they were losing. So let me just double check the score in that game. They were beaten 3-1, and he came on for the final 16 minutes. And I think his manager actually pinpointed him after the game as saying, "Okay, we brought Lennon Miller on, and he showed that he still has a lot to learn, how to play in Italy, how to adapt." And then he then didn't play for the next 6 games, just stayed on the bench for all of them. For he was given 3 minutes against Lazio in a draw, and then from there his minutes have grown. So I found it quite peculiar at that time. Maybe it's just because we don't really see that thing happen often here, where the manager kind of goes for a youngster and says, that wasn't really what I was looking for. So I think the manager, I can't find the quote online. I saw it on the Scott Ball page, I'm sure. But the manager has then said, I'm really happy with how Lennon performed. And I think it was in the Torino victory away from home on the 7th of January. So good to see the public acknowledgement as well from the manager after what he said a couple of months back.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't go as far as say maybe hung out to dry, but I don't know what he was meant to do off the bench. I think 60 minutes I'm reading on my screen here that he played in a defeat away to Juventus. I don't know what his impact was meant to be, but it's good that I think he came off the bench, as you mentioned, against away to Como. I think they still went on to get beat, but I think from all accounts he did pretty well off the bench and he earned his starts, 2 starts in a row now. And I think that's where you can see Lennon Miller at his best. I don't think he's not an impact player from the bench, is he? He's a player that wants to start, wants to dictate tempo, play in midfield, and do his thing. And we've seen that in the last two games. Unfortunately, not being able to catch the games or see any footage or anything. But again, by all accounts, he's not disgraced himself at all and seems to be doing pretty well now. So hopefully he goes on to to kick on. It's great to see, 2 starts in a row for a 19-year-old in Serie A. That might not maybe mean a lot to a lot of people, but I think that's really good, and it's he's still really really early in his career, despite being probably more advanced than most at his age, kind of coming through at Motherwell at 16, 17. So great to see, and hopefully continues to start, because it's the 2-1 win against Torino and then a 2-2 draw with Pisa, which is probably disappointing for Udinese, but yeah, I don't think he's probably done enough to be dropped.
If you're not beating Pisa as a Serie A team, you should be liquidated. I went to a Pisa game against Verona, and when I went away a weekend away in October, it is the worst game of football I've ever seen in my entire life. 0-0, Pisa Verona. Neither of them could string two passes together. And then the next week, I was checking my live score, and then 94th minute, Pisa were 2-1 up against Milan in the San Siro. I was like, these cannot be the same guys that I saw last week. Milan scored in the 96th minute to equalise, but yeah, honestly, I think I
Wow.
said at the time, Steve Clark's Kelly team would have beaten both of them. They were horrendous. Yeah. A few more on the form front. John McGinn and Aston Villa flying loose. A double for McGinn against Forest last week. They won 3-1. That was only his second and third league goal of the season, but whenever I watch Villa on Match of the Day or the odd game on Sky, he seems to be so integral and really vital to the way that they move forward through the thirds. Really enjoying watching them, and hopefully see them push towards a title chase. And McGinn as captain, it's great to see. So two more goals for him, or two goals for him last week, only his second and third of the season. But he's flying, Villa flying. We're going to have a few players injured for the World Cup. It's going to happen. Please not John McGinn.
No, I know, because it's not just that, but his performances for Scotland have been brilliant again, haven't they? That energy, that drive, that all-encompassing John McGinn type of performance that we're used to seeing has become a bit more commonplace over the last year. I think it dipped just for a wee
Yeah.
while, I think it's fair to say, by his standards. But again, I don't know if it's maybe just a Scottish mentality, but I worried about when Villa under Emery started to become a better team, and there was a brief period near the start where McGinn, even as captain, wasn't always guaranteed to be a starter, and I just thought, there we go, like they're becoming this fashionable Premier League team. McGinn's going to be like a sub there or whatever, and yet he like maybe proven a lot of people wrong that maybe we might have doubted him, but he is literally integral to that team now. He's such an important player. His personality shines through all the time and everything he does. And yeah, I think it's not just his performances, but it is his everything around the camp as well. I think touch wood, but if anything was to remotely happen to John McGinn, he would still go to the World Cup. I think he's that important. Like Clark would still want him around the place probably, because he's so important to that squad. But yeah, good to see him not only playing well but scoring goals as well, and clearly just really enjoying himself. And I would love to see Villa really go deep into this Premier League title race, because it's been brilliant to see.
Table just now. I'm not off the top of my head across it. So Arsenal are six clear, Callum, of City and Villa, who are on the same points. Could John McGinn? Not going to ask you for like a percentage chance, but do you reckon Villa are going to be in rush out here going into the final 3-4 games for John McGinn to lift the Premier League trophy?
Yeah, you never know. And it would be even more interesting if they hadn't given everybody a 4 or 5 game head start. If you remember the start of the season, I think it was maybe, I don't have the stats on the top of my head, but maybe 4 games, 4 defeats, and they hadn't scored a goal. So, I mean, I remember having Ollie Watkins in my fantasy team. That's how I know that. But guys, they're doing really well. They're flying. Obviously, they had the blip at the Emirates against Arsenal. But I think other than that, it's maybe 11 wins in the last 12 potentially, maybe even 12 from 13 now with that FA Cup win. So that's something I'd like to see. I think Arsenal will go on to win the Premier League, if you want my honest opinion. But um, they should be good for top four. They're still in the Europa League, and a great away win in the FA Cup against Tottenham. So hopefully silverware for McGinn. I think that would be something as good as this Villa team have been over the years. You saw Newcastle and Palace maybe get the monkey off the back with the trophy lifts. I think that would be unbelievable for a club like Villa. Lifting the FA Cup, or Emery in the Europa Leagues, obviously very well known what he can do in that. So let's hopeful for McGinn's sake.
You're right, Calum. So the first 5 games of the season were three
Yeah.
draws and 2 defeats, and they played teams that they wouldn't expect to drop so many points to. It was Newcastle, Brentford, Palace, Everton, and Sunderland. So
Mm.
not exactly guaranteed wins, but you would expect Villa to get 2 wins, maybe 3 wins out of that run.
Yeah.
But they've recovered brilliantly. I'm just pleased that I put a tenner on Villa Hearts Championship double in July. Nice.
Imagine.
Imagine the odds. Oh my God.
So, John McGinn doing great things, and that's down south. Do you know who's doing great things up here? And it is becoming a narrative now, but I think it's an unavoidable one. Is Josh Mulligan driving force at Hibs? I think that he is probably going to be the youngster that most of the chat is about when the World Cup comes around. Whether uh, what's his name, Connor Barron is fit again after his injury, which we'll come to in a second, or any other sort of youngsters that are popping up around the scene. Like there will be shouts. I bet you there will be shouts for like Luke Graham, for example, or Milne at Aberdeen. Like there just will be shouts for those kind of guys. But I think Mulligan is probably going to be the one that has the most credence to those calls, Lewis. I really, really like a centre mid that gets the ball and drives. The one that I'll always refer back to is see when Stuart Armstrong started finding form at Celtic, and he would get the ball and move forward 30 yards with it, sort of glide forward. He didn't look the strongest, but he was able to get past players and shrug them off. Mulligan kind of reminds me of that slightly, but with a bit more about him.
Yeah, he's been brilliant for Hibs, who've really strung a great run of form together to muscle back up towards the top end of the table. But I think the concern for him is really just the area of the pitch he's competing in, isn't it? That's the problem for him. Just look at the competition in there. And that's not even mentioning other players that are doing really well this season. That like some Motherwell, Elliot Watt has been exceptional. I don't think he'll be really in the conversation to the same degree because he's a little bit older and maybe not the same kind of pleasing on the eye. But he's such a dictator of matches. But with Mulligan, yeah, he's quite old fashioned in that sense, isn't he? Just like head down, boom, drive forwards, like really energetic, exciting player. And I mean, what age is he now? Is he 20 or?
He's older than that, yeah.
23, I think.
23. So he's got a bright future ahead as well. I don't know what his contract situation is at Hibs, but I think if he continues this form and if Hibs end the season strongly, then yeah, he'll be in the shout.
But
Absolutely.
that's the thing though, he's not a boy, is he? Is he a boy? Can we say he's not a youngster? I think he's past the point of youngster, isn't he? 23.
Yeah, is he 23 now? Yeah,
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
say so, yeah.
yeah. Right, now is the time that you want to be starting to assert yourself on the
Yeah.
national team. This isn't like Billy Gilmore coming through at 18, 19. This
No.
is a guy who's playing first team football every week and to a very strong level. I think he has to be aiming for it now, I think, rather than hoping for it, Callum.
Yeah, he's done really well. He's done better than I thought he would, to be fair. I think he was always a decent player at Dundee, but he's taken his game on to a new level this season. He contributed with goals as well. He scored a corker at Hampden Vale against Livingston in the cup. Goal away at St Mirren as well was pretty good, and I think 5 assists I think as well. So he's popping up and in the box. He's probably well, for me, the classic kind of box to box. You don't know. I wouldn't call him a defensive midfielder. I wouldn't call him an attacking midfielder either. And I think what would help him in terms of if we're looking at getting in the squad, would be his versatility because he's played as a wing back on a few occasions this season. I know Scotland have been going with the four at the back recently, but maybe he could do a job at right back. I don't know if that's, say we had 7 central midfielders and you've got a flip of a coin between him or Barron. Maybe that's something that you could argue gives him an edge. But feel for Barron recently because he's obviously, I thought he was really good against Aberdeen, and he obviously had that knock, I think, out for maybe just shy of 3 months. So that'll be a sore one for him, having just hit form before the March friendlies coming up, I believe. So, but I'm Mulligan, big fan. Obviously, as Lewis says, though, the position probably not one we're crying out for players in, but if he keeps going, he's got to be in with a shout.
I'll tell you what though, for the March friendlies it'll be interesting. Connor Barron, as you just
Yeah.
say, out for about 3 months. Ryan Christie, I'm not sure when he's going to be fit again. He's not played in a while. I saw Iraola in the press before Bournemouth's game at the weekend saying that Christie still feels pain when he kicks the ball, so needs more time to recover. No time frame given. And Billy Gilmore's recovering from an operation on his kind of hip area. He's got the same thing that Tierney had when he was at Celtic, the osteus pubis thing that just kind of comes on with for no reason. So he's had an operation to put that right. Hopefully it's not ages, but there's three centre mids out, so there might be an opportunity for Mulligan when it comes to the March friendlies. The other one injury that I think we need to keep an eye on is Gannon Doak, who had his hammy done after the Denmark game. Hopefully, again, not too long, and he can actually get a run of games. I'm nervous about him though. I'm just nervous about him playing before the World Cup and then getting injured again. I kind of hope that he gets fit towards the like middle of April and then
Yeah,
plays 3 or 4 games to get back up to speed and then goes away with the squad.
I'm
yeah,
interested to see what Bournemouth do as well, because they've just sold Semenyo to Man City,
Mm.
so it's a
Aye,
player in his
yeah,
position. I don't know if they probably will go and replace him, but be interesting to see how they value Gannon Doak going forward.
yeah,
If
yeah.
they've got the replacement there, or do they bring something on loan to January and then Gannon Doak as the Semenyo replacement? I don't know, but
yeah.
yeah, hopefully he's back. He's back soon.
The Mulligan chat brings us nicely onto the transfer section of the pod because he is one that has been linked with quite a few bigger clubs than Hibs. So down south, Forest and Leeds United apparently both been keeping a close eye on him, but perhaps waiting till the summer to make a move. There's also reports that Wolfsburg and Lille are keeping an eye on him, and of course, any player that's doing well in the SPL or the Premiership. Can you guess who else have been credited with an interest in Josh Mulligan, guys?
Will it be Celtic or Rangers there?
It's both of them, Lewis. Well
Yeah,
done. Yeah. So,
I was going to say Bologna or something.
yeah,
Say
just
that one.
par for the course now with them. So, I will see what happens with Josh Mulligan. I, I fear every single time that when one of our young boys gets linked with a Forest or Leeds, that they'll go down and get lost. If one of them gets relegated, I know Leeds look like they're doing okay. Forest are still kind of around there, aren't they? And would it be better? Would it be better if one of them gets relegated and Josh Mulligan goes?
It's hard to say, isn't it? Because you would always want your players to be playing at the highest level possible, wouldn't you? But then equally on the flip side, if you drop a level, then you're maybe going to get a better chance of game time. You're going to be playing in a team that's winning more frequently. It's a toss of a coin, but I think most players would always say that they're only going to improve by playing at a higher level. So I think, yeah, either way, it's a positive for him that he's been linked with clubs of this stature. But I think, as Calum touched on Bologna, I would just like to see more Scots continue to go abroad. I think it's easier to get lost in the Premier League, where it's the biggest budgets, it's probably the best squads in the world in terms of when you look at teams down the bottom of their respective domestic leagues. Teams like Leeds and Forest have got so much money, and I think I read the other day that Dominic Calvert-Lewin's getting over 100 grand a week at Leeds. And I was just like, the money is truly insane now. So go abroad and get more game time, get a bit of a profile for yourself, and then make the move to the Premier League when you're going to get money thrown at you. So let's see how it transpires. But yeah, I think the next 6 months is interesting for Mulligan and a lot of players. I think I read that Elliot Watt, touched on earlier, has been linked with Rangers a bit as well. So a few kind of players on the periphery that might catch the attention of Clark a little bit in the next few months.
Speaking of Hibs, what about his teammate Kieron Bowie? He's apparently been hit with a 6 million price tag by Hibs with guess who? Celtic and Rangers loitering, and Wolves allegedly, who seem to be genuinely on their way to the Championship. 6 million for Kieran Bowie, Callum. What do you say to that?
Yeah, if I'm a Hibs fan, I don't know. It's difficult. You probably take it. I think his values around that mark would be fair. I think he's been good this season. Obviously started really well. I think you alluded to it earlier, Andy. The Partizan Belgrade goal was unbelievable and shows the quality he's got. I think he went on a bit of a spell without a goal in the league anyway. About a month, 2 months or so. But he's back scoring. Scored at the weekend. Big goal in the derby as well against Hearts and a couple against Falkirk. So Yeah, I think he's maybe one or two shy double figures now in the top flight. So he's going very well for
He's got nine in total. Callum 8 in the league. Doing all
there
right.
we go. Yeah, there we go. So he's doing very well. And again, I think he's same age as Mulligan, 23. So it's basically the breakout season for him, if that makes sense. Obviously started with Wraith Rovers, went down south, and his first season with Hibs was kind of interrupted. So first real full season with Hibs, but yeah, he's doing really well, and he's certainly an option because we don't have the top strikers. Scotland, obviously we'll touch on Dykes in a moment, I think, but the likes of Adams and Hurst and whoever, we don't have top level strikers as decent a level they're playing at. So yeah, I would be all for Bowie going and continue to smash goals and get himself a move to a Wolves, or even abroad would be nice. But Wolves in the Championship, I think, would be good. As you touched upon there, John McGinn was obviously when he got his move first of all was Villa were in the Championship. So
It was
I think
Christie.
Mhm.
yeah.
But Andy,
But
can you see a club spending 6 million on Bowie?
not Celtic or Rangers now.
No, no. Even though, like, if you look at, for example, 9 million on Chermiti from Rangers, there is like a mentality thing about spending that money on a player that's in Scotland, isn't there? Like we've seen recent examples, McGinn, who you literally just touched on, Celtic hesitant to spend that money. Lennon Miller was another one Rangers were linked with for a long time that we're never going to stump up the money Motherwell wanted. So I think when Hibs slap a price tag like that on, it's probably just to fend off the old firm, and then it'll basically mean that his best chance of getting that money and the club getting that money is to go abroad. And 6 million to a team like Wolves, I mean, it's
Yeah.
nothing.
Well, the money down south's a joke nowadays. I was watching Derby Leeds yesterday, and Derby brought a guy off the bench they got from the MLS in the summer for 7 million quid. Where would Derby getting that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mental.
Like, and get good money in the champ, no problem. The, it's an interesting point. I remember that with Scott McKenna when Aberdeen sold him with 6 million,
Mm.
thinking, "Oof, all right,
Yeah,
well, why not? To see what you can get." I thought it was a lot at the time, and then
yeah,
along came Forest, wasn't it? That took him. So
yeah,
it's kind of you could probably draw a parallel with that because they were Championship at the time as well.
yeah, yeah,
So I also am thinking, so Celtic do need a striker, right? They've only got Ian
yeah.
Acho and Johnny Kenny. Rangers trying to ship out Danilo or anybody probably.
Don't
Because
know.
Rangers spent 6 million on him from Feyenoord, I think. So
I feel like they've got plenty of strikers now, don't they, with Miovski? But I know he's injured, isn't he, Miovski? But
is it right?
um,
Well, maybe if Rangers feel like they need a starting centre forward, then fine. But actually, there's somebody from. Let me just. There's somebody that Rangers are
they
linked with
might.
heavily right now.
Yeah,
Andre Skov Olsen from Wolfsburg. Although
that's the one.
he's
Yeah,
more about like a winger attacker
Lennon.
sort of
Yeah.
guy. So
Yeah,
yeah, maybe not centre forward. Uh, I think he'd have more of a shout at Rangers for some reason. I don't trust Celtic to play young
mm.
Scottish signings. I don't.
Yeah,
So I would imagine that it will be abroad for Kieron Bowie or down south. And if Wolves get relegated, they'll probably be one of the better teams in that division. So I think
yeah,
that would be a decent move for him. To do it right now, though, I think would be a risky one. He
yeah.
might go down and then only play 6, 7 games in a World Cup year, and Shankland would definitely have his place over him. And then you've got a direct parallel between him and George Hurst. They're in the same league,
Yeah.
and whoever's doing better would probably go. Whereas if Bowie scores more goals up here in comparison to Hurst, that might put him in a more favourable position. So we'll see what happens with Bowie. But I think he's probably going to have a move ahead of him in the near future, if not right now.
Yeah.
Really, really interesting to see what happens with Lyndon Dykes, boys. The two clubs that are seemingly most heavily linked with him, Charlton and I was surprised Ipswich, who are both in the same league as Birmingham right now in the Championship. Ironically, when I was checking up on Shea Adams, he's getting linked back to Birmingham. So I wonder uh, if Dykes leaves, then that'll open up a spot for Birmingham to re-sign Shea Adams. I think he's playing out in Torino anyway. He's not exactly hit the heights with goals this season, but he's playing plenty of minutes. But Dykes is struggling for game time. It was nearly Hibs for him in the summer, wasn't it, Callum? But it looks like just a move in the Championship right now. I think for Dykes, his place is safe in the World Cup squad, provided he's fit. It's just about staying sharp and trying to be at a club where he's going to get more minutes.
Yeah, his place is probably safe, and he's done enough in his last few Scotland performances, I think. But he's kind of a bit part player now at Birmingham. I would like to see him move. Probably said it for the last year, maybe even 2 years. Even when he was at QPR. So yeah, I think he's been coming off the bench of late. But I think 2 starts in the Championship. I'm reading here, so it's not great in the season.
Left out the last two squads as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
They're clearly trying to get rid by leaving him out of
Yeah.
squads. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think obviously Birmingham have got money behind them as well. So I saw they were linked. I can't remember off the top of my head who it was, but I saw they were linked with a big money signing. I think it might have been a striker. I would need to have a look. But yeah, I think for his sake, it would be extremely beneficial for him to get a move. Yeah, definitely.
Aye. Well, I expect something to happen in the next few days for Lyndon Dykes. It seems that things are speeding up for him a wee bit, just with a few things that I've heard and people I've spoken to. Is it something that you think is absolutely necessary, or if he stays at Birmingham, then it's kind of shrug shoulders?
Knowing Lyndon Dykes quite well, I think it's necessary just for him. I think he just wants to play and he wants to be in the best possible condition for the World Cup because let's not just forget, it's not just about being in the squad. Dykes has that mentality that he'll want to be a starter at the World Cup as well. So he's going to have to do a lot to kind of prove that. He's done it, I think, Calum, as you touched on, in a Scotland shirt. I think he's shown very much so how valuable he is to the squad, no matter what he's doing at club level. So if he can get his confidence and his goal scoring up at club level between now and the summer, then brilliant. But I think it is necessary, yeah, and I think it will happen.
Yeah. I think he was keen to go to Hibs, I think, wasn't it? It was Birmingham that got in the way of that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he would have been up here this season, yeah. I tell you who it is necessary for, Nathan Patterson. It's not been a pretty generous 18 months or so for him since he started to get back to fitness, and they've had change of managers. Sean Dyche wasn't up for it. David Moyes, I wondered if the Scottish connection might help slightly. It hasn't really, and although he's come back into the team and played a wee bit there, I wonder if that's more of a shop window thing to get him out. So it's quite exciting though. The clubs that are seemingly most heavily linked, and they have been for a few windows now. Sevilla, that'd be quite cool, wouldn't it? Or Bologna, shock, or Lazio. So it's a good level. I'm pretty sure all three of them would beat Everton. So if you can go and get game time abroad at one of them, especially when there's a potential of playing in Europe for one or more of them, then that would be great. There's mixed reports, either a loan to the end of the season with an option to buy, or 5-6 million now. So Sevilla, Bologna, or Lazio, Lewis, not bad.
Well, that's what I was going to ask Andy, if those links were a permanent transfer or a loan. I think if you're Everton, you've invested, what was it, 5 million quid in bringing Patterson in
Oh, it
from
was way more than that. It was 15,
what,
16.
was it as much as that? I thought it was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
5 or 6 million.
Rangers record sale, yeah, it was 15, 16 mil, yeah.
Jesus, eh? Well, you've invested money, then just get him out, get him playing, just loan him because we've seen what he can do, particularly in a Scotland jersey. So if they could get him out playing regularly between now and the end of the season, it'd be beneficial for Everton to do that. And then the value they could get in summer would be higher anyway. So I would hope for his sake that, yeah, to be honest, it doesn't really matter for his sake if it is permanent or a loan, but I just hope for his sake he does get a move in January one way or the other because I think we just kind of, because of how good Hickey's been, but obviously he's got his injury issues, I think we just forget how good Patterson actually was in spells before he got injured. He was brilliant going forward, wasn't he? Defensively, still pretty solid, but not as good as Hickey. But what he did for us was brilliant for a good, year or so in the squad at least.
So the end of the campaign where we had Denmark and Israel and Austria for the 22 World Cup, he played in that winning run. Remember, he had a massive impact away to Moldova. I remember he scored and he set up a goal for Shea Adams in the game that secured the playoffs. He had a huge impact that campaign. He's 24 now, so he would have just turned 20 when he was
Wow. Yeah,
coming into the team and having that impact. So it's Nathan Patty's got 23 caps, which is actually more than I thought he had. So it's a shame he's not been able to kick on. If you're having a look at his minutes for Everton, he started against Forest at the end of the year, or just now in Hogmanay. Apart from that, he's played 2 minutes against Burnley, 3 minutes against Wolves, and then in the cup, he played the whole 120 against Sunderland, or almost the whole 120 against Sunderland there. They got beaten penalties. So I think that's just a bit of rotation from Everton, bring in the reserve right back for the cup game. I can't see any future for him there, to be honest. And at the minute, I can't see a place in the World Cup squad for him. I don't want to verge into on the plane territory, Callum, but I don't think Patterson's head in there.
Not yet, not yet. Certainly, I think if maybe he keeps up the last few games. Obviously, you mentioned there, um, played against Sunderland at the weekend. Majority of the game, like not just 90 minutes, so into extra time as well, and had the start against Forest away from home, where do you think he played just over 70 minutes, clean sheet in that as well. So I think what maybe helps him, and I don't know, I agree with you both that I think he needs a loan move. But I've watched Everton quite a lot this season. Just purely, I just like David Moyes. I think Alan Irvine on the coaching staff as well, and that'll
Yeah,
be the link with Steve Clarke as well. So, um, I think their squad's really light, which would be my only concern. They've had a fair few injuries defensively this season as well. Looking at Branthwaite still out, so I think O'Brien's been playing in one maybe as a centre half. Coleman's been in and out with injury as well, so that's probably why Patterson's there at right back. But if they've got enough cover, I would definitely like to see him go out where he's guaranteed to start most weeks. But I quite like the fact he's maybe kind of forcing his way back in now. And as you say, the Scottish connection with Moyes, hopefully he can begin to prove himself a little bit more. Um, Moyes is probably, I would say, on the cautious side of management in terms of you'd want a more solid fullback than a high flying Patterson, but he's not as bad as a Dyche for me would be. So, um, yeah, hopefully he can nail down a spot or play much more towards the end of the season. But I think to increase his chances more, he would benefit much more from a low move. And as you said, those clubs were
yeah.
that you listed would be really really good. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, but are Sevilla really struggling in La Liga at the minute?
I've literally just checked that, Lewis. They're not really struggling, but it's tight. So they are 14th in La Liga, but that's only 3 points above 18th place.
Yeah, I think for
But
most of the season they have been down near the relegation zone, and so they're clearly turning the corner a little bit. But yeah, I seem to remember seeing that they were having a bad season.
it's 10th place in La Liga is only 5 points above 18th, here Valencia.
Wow.
So yeah, quite a tight table there. And the ones that he's linked with in Italy, Bologna and Lazio are 8th and 9th, so they're kind of in decent
Yeah,
shape anyway. So we'll see what happens. It's exciting to have those options on the table if they are true for Nathan Patterson, rather
yeah,
than a kind of run of the mill sideways move. But I mean, this is the thing for us. I always try and remember this when talking about transfers. Patterson might not want to go abroad. He might want to stay near his family. He might have a house down there. I don't know his like relationship situation with his parents or anything like that. Like it might suit him better if he gets a loan move to a decent championship team, and it means he's not uprooting or changing anything. But if we look at it pure footballingly, it would be cooler and more exciting to see him go and play for Lazio, for example.
definitely.
Yeah,
And I think he's very well kind of grew up and came through the ranks with Billy Gilmore, so they're pretty close. So surely, like he'll speak to him about the benefits of living abroad or
yeah.
whatever. I mean, he's not daft. He'll know the benefits that come with playing abroad as well. But hopefully, you would think that there'd be something in him that would think, yeah, I can do what those lads have done that have gone abroad. He's maybe just not had the opportunity yet in terms of a club coming for him that's based away. So yeah, let's see what happens.
Final main talking point, boys. How do you think Angus Gunn is feeling? He's on the bench for Forest at best these days. He spoke publicly about trying to rip up his contract and get a move in January. We didn't know how urgent that would be for him because he seemingly would be picked for Scotland anyway. But now Craig Gordon has opened the door at Hearts to potentially being the keeper between now and the end of the season. He showed or reminded everybody what he's capable of with that save, and he'll be playing in the next game, definitely. So Angus Gunn, at best second choice, normally third choice at Forest, has about what's that, just under 3 weeks to try and get himself out the door. Do you think that he will be going at that option, no holds barred, Lewis?
both him and Schmoller were like that when Gordon made the save. um, yeah, I think he needs to get out. It's as simple as that. His position is under threat big time, and as well as he did, and he produced a good save in that Denmark game, didn't he? I think it was one of those that in the stadium in the moment, I thought it was absolutely incredible the save. Then when I seen it back, I was like, it's probably pretty simple actually.
What the Karetsa save?
I thought it was Greece, wasn't it? Yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah,
Karetsa, yes, yeah, got you,
yeah.
got you.
Yeah, that save was absolutely phenomenal, wasn't it? But yeah, I think pretty routine. But yeah, I think he's got, you know, between now and the end of the window to really save his skin, in the sense of starting at a World Cup with hopefully Gordon going on from strength to strength. But it's just not worked out going to Forest. I don't know if did anyone ever really think it was going to work out at Forest. He's clearly just gone where the money is, isn't he? So
Yeah,
It was a free agent, wasn't he? It looked like Matt Sells might move on because he'd really
I
impressed as
don't know.
Forest had their good
Unreal.
season. So, but then about 3 days after they came in, they spent 30 million or something on a Brazilian keeper, and
Yeah.
straight away he was third choice. And then they didn't sell Matt Sells, so it's really he's gone down a blind alley. Do you know? I wonder. I mean, Schmeichel's not been great for Celtic lately, has he? Could could that be a solution for Angus Gunn?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I think it again though. The Celtic, well, under O'Neill, I don't know what they're going to do in terms of are they going to back O'Neill much in January? They probably have to, don't they, to try and get back into the mix of winning this title. But will they look for a goalkeeper that's better with the ball at his feet? I don't know. I don't know what their recruitment will be like, and it's hard to tell with Celtic generally off the pitch at the minute what way they're going to go with things. But I think it would be a smart move. It would be a decent stopgap anyway between now and the summer window because he's very much available. He has to move, surely.
Yeah, it was only a 1 year deal that he signed, Callum, so he's free to negotiate for the summer now if he wants. But he could also, Forrest just might think, you know what, get out the door, but somebody else can pay your wages for 5 months and then you can do what you like. I wonder if that's the best thing. But I wonder if he does go out on loan, what sort of level will Angus Gunn move to, and will it be first choice, or will he just move up from third choice to second choice somewhere? I really don't know.
yeah. I think goalkeepers are really complex now, aren't they? Down south with obviously, I mean, he's a Scotland international now, but he's homegrown in England, isn't he? With that, so that's probably a big thing for English clubs,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
Premier League clubs. Forest in Europe this season, I believe, as well. So, um, yeah, I think they're maybe happy. A lot of teams have. I don't personally get it. I think you're fine with two goalkeepers, and then maybe a young goalkeeper
Mm.
who's in the academy playing every week. So I think that's personally fine. But yeah, they've got three first team experienced goalies now. Pretty much every Premier League club. Obviously, he's taken the Scott Carson role, hasn't he, this season? So yeah, he turns 30, I think, at time of recording in 10 days. So Craig Gordon's not the norm. It's important to remember that you're not supposed to go on to play till you're 43 and make saves like that. But for a goalkeeper, he's still got at least 5, 6 years, if not more, where he could play to a really good standard. So it's important. His next move is really, really important. It's important to do it quickly with the World Cup coming up, so you get game time. But it's also important to find the right club because I mean, as good as maybe a loan would be short term, I think he's got another move in him, for the long term where he could go be a number one in the championship somewhere, or as you mentioned, Celtic, or I don't know, maybe even abroad somewhere like you look at a McKenna to a Dinamo Zagreb or that kind of level. I don't think that's beyond them. So, be very interesting to see, yeah, like where he goes from here because yeah, he's one that we talk about Dykes and Patterson and things, but at least they're kind of seeing minutes as low as they are. But yeah, Gunn hasn't played a minute of football this season apart from at international level, so he needs a move.
At least they've got a chance of playing football, don't they? Whereas with Gunn, you just know there's no chance of them playing football.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, as you brought this one to the table, I'd totally forgotten about Stephen Welsh recalled by
Yeah.
Celtic. What's the state of play there? Do you reckon that's so Celtic can sell him, can use him? get a
Thanks.
better loan deal for him? Someone else contributes more money to his wages. What's the chat?
As I just touched on with Celtic, kind of, and the recruit, it's hard to predict what their thinking is or what they're going to do. But I'd be amazed if they were calling him to sell him, because he's been exceptional for Motherwell in his 17 or 18 games he's played since he came in. It was a season-long loan. Celtic had an option to recall him early, and they've done it. And I would have to say it's down to his performances for Motherwell. He's been brilliant, and you look at the kind of problems defensively Celtic have had. Carter Vickers getting injured, Scales and Trusty looking a little bit shaky at times when they've played, and they've had to turn to some of the young boys, haven't they? Whereas Welsh has been, absolutely brilliant for Motherwell. He's played mostly in a back four, left of a back two and a back four, but also played left of a three when Bertolascu's gone to that. So for a Scotland perspective, that's great to have that adaptability, and he's really surprised a lot of people. I think I don't think many people thought Stephen Welsh could kind of go to this kind of level, but he's really good on the ball, been a bit of a leader, and he's still probably quite young. I would imagine 24 or something like that, 25. I don't know.
Stephen Welsh is. Oh no, he turns 26 next week, Lewis.
Yeah, 20, 25.
Surprised at that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's coming into his probably peak years as a defender over the next couple of years, you would imagine. So I think he's going back to Celtic to play. So if he has a good 6 months there, who knows? He could maybe force his way into contention as well, because we do need centre backs.
Do you think there's no cynicism involved here that Celtic are doing this because Motherwell are a threat?
I think Celtic will be doing it more like because of their own options at the back. I think they'll look at Welsh and go, he's probably better than a few of our players that we're having to play week in, week out here. So it strengthens them, but also weakens Motherwell. It's a bit of a win-win for them. So it's a smart enough move, as frustrating as it is for Motherwell, unfortunately.
Well, I think that'll do us, boys, with a couple of more transfer ones to keep an eye on. We can touch on in the February edition of the domestic catch-up, depending on if anything has happened, is that Jack Hendry and Andy Robertson are both out of contract in the summer. I think Robertson's a really interesting one. I have heard that he really wants to play for Celtic, out of contract in the summer, and we'll see if that transpires. But I'm sure you'll have options from all over Europe on the table for him to pick between when the time comes. With Jack Hendry, LA Galaxy and LAFC are the two that come up on the transfer chats when you search his name online to move to in the summer for free. I think Ryan Porteous is at one of them on loan, isn't he? Is that LAFC?
Him and Porteous at LAFC would be interesting, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens there over the next 3 weeks. In the meantime, great to be back in Hampden Roar. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be posting a new episode next week. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. I'll check the schedule. But the plan is for every Monday or Tuesday at the start of the week to record an episode and make sure it's a pretty good structure between now and the World Cup to keep everybody appetites whetted between now and the summer. Loads of ideas, and we'll make sure that we're pretty rigid with our plans to make it happen and bring it to you. So thanks very much for tuning in today. Remember, we're on Instagram. Follow us, Hampden Roar Podcast, and if you're not watching us on YouTube right now, just search Hampden Roar Podcast on YouTube and you'll be able to watch us on the Zoom calls having a chat, as well as listen on Spotify or Apple or wherever you do. Tune in. And as always, we're on Twitter at Hampden Roar Pod. If you're a listener to the pod, I would imagine that you're aware of that. But in case not, you can get us there as well. So thanks very much for tuning in, Lewis and Calum. Cheers for lending your time this Monday morning, and we'll be back with the next episode next week.